On Mother's Day, my son gave me a gold watch and said, "Promise me you'll wear this every single day, Mom. Never take it off." I smiled and said, "I promise, sweetheart." Then, 1 week later, I started dying. If you're listening from somewhere far away, drop your city in the comments so I can see how far this has traveled. And please, stay with me until the end. My name is Sophia Marie Harrison, and I need you to understand something about me before this story goes any further. I am not a victim. I have never been a victim. Not when I was born in a 2-bedroom apartment in the Bronx in 1959 to a single mother who worked 3 jobs. Not when I was the only black girl in my business classes at community college in 1977. Not when banks refused to give me loans in the 1980s because I was a woman. And not when my husband, James, died of a heart attack 3 years ago, leaving me alone in our brownstone in Harlem. I built something in this life. Something real. I started Harrison Property Management in 1985 with $3,000 I'd saved from working nights at a diner and weekends cleaning offices. By 1990, I owned my first building, a small apartment complex in Brooklyn with 8 units. By 2000, I had 17 properties across 3 boroughs. By 2010, I had 42. When I retired 6 months ago, I owned 68 residential and commercial properties in New York City. The portfolio was valued at approximately $47.3 million. But here's what most people didn't know. I never talked about it. I wore simple dresses from Macy's. I drove a 2015 Honda Accord. I shopped at Trader Joe's with coupons. I didn't wear diamonds or designer bags. I didn't post on social media about my success. I lived quietly, modestly, the way my mother taught me. "Sophia," she used to say, "the loudest person in the room is usually the weakest. Let your work speak." So I did. For 40 years, I let my work speak while I stayed silent. My children, Brandon and Maya, they knew I owned properties. They knew I'd done well for myself, but they didn't know the full extent. James and I had decided early on to raise them without the burden of knowing they were wealthy. We wanted them to work hard, to build their own lives, to understand the value of a dollar. Brandon, my oldest, was born in 1988. He was a beautiful baby, 10 pounds, 2 ounces, with my nose and James's eyes. I remember holding him in the hospital and thinking, this is why I work so hard. For you. For your future. Maya came 3 years later in 1991. 7 pounds, 4 ounces, with James's nose and my eyes. She was quieter than Brandon, more thoughtful, more careful with her words. I loved them both equally. I gave them both everything I could. Private school, college tuition, help with their first apartments. I showed up to every recital, every game, every parent-teacher conference. I was present. I was there. But somewhere along the way, Brandon changed. It started small. Around age 16, he stopped saying thank you. Around 18, he started making comments about people like us and people like them. Around 22, after he dropped out of Columbia University in his senior year, he started asking me for money instead of asking for advice. "Mom, I need $5,000 for a business investment." "Mom, I need $3,000 to cover rent." "Mom, I need $10,000 for a car." I gave it to him, every time, because he was my son, and I thought that's what mothers did. Maya, meanwhile, graduated from NYU with honors. She became a graphic designer, started her own small firm, married a kind man named David, and built a quiet, steady life. She called me every Sunday. She asked how I was feeling. She listened. Brandon called when he needed something. But I told myself it was fine. I told myself boys are different. I told myself he'd grow out of it. Then James died. The funeral was on a Tuesday in November 2022. It rained that day, the kind of cold, relentless rain that seeps into your bones and doesn't leave. 347 people came to pay their respects. James had been loved. He'd been a high school principal for 32 years, and half the neighborhood had been his students at one point or another. I wore black. I stood at the front of the church. I shook hands. I accepted condolences. I smiled when people told me James was in a better place now. But inside, I was hollow. We'd been married for 41 years. 41 years of waking up next to the same man, of knowing how he took his coffee, black, 2 sugars, of finishing each other's sentences. And now he was gone. Brandon stood beside me during the service. He wore a black suit I'd bought him. He cried, real tears streaming down his face. He held my hand. He whispered, "I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry." I believed him. Maya stood on my other side with David and their daughter, my grandbaby, little Emma, who was only 2 years old. Maya didn't cry during the service. She was strong for me, the way she'd always been strong. But I saw her shoulders shaking when they lowered the casket into the ground. After the funeral, people came back to our house, the brownstone on 127th Street that James and I had bought in 1983 for $87,000 and was now worth $3.2 million. I'd made sandwiches, I'd set out coffee and tea, I'd prepared everything because that's what you do. You keep moving, you keep going. Brandon stayed close to me all evening. He was attentive in a way he hadn't been in years. He brought me water, he made sure I sat down. He told people, "My mother needs rest," when they stayed too long. I thought, maybe this is it. Maybe James's death will bring us closer. Maybe Brandon will finally grow up. I was wrong. For 2 months after the funeral, Brandon was perfect. He moved back into the brownstone, into his old bedroom on the 3rd floor, and said he wanted to be here for me during this difficult time. He cooked dinner 3 nights a week. He took out the trash. He asked about my day. He also started asking about the properties. "Mom, how many buildings do we have now? Mom, what's the monthly income from the rentals? Mom, have you thought about what happens to everything when when you're not here anymore?" I should have seen it then. I should have recognized the questions for what they were. But I was grieving, and grief makes you stupid. It makes you want to believe the best in people, especially your own children. "Brandon," I said one evening in January, "everything is taken care of. I've worked with lawyers. There's a will. You and Maya will be fine." He smiled. "I'm not worried, Mom. I just want to make sure you're taken care of now." I believed him. Meanwhile, Maya called every Sunday like clockwork. She didn't ask about the properties. She didn't ask about money. She asked, "How are you sleeping, Mom? Are you eating enough? Do you need me to come over?" I told her I was fine. I told her Brandon was staying with me, keeping me company. She paused on the other end of the line. "Mom, is that a good idea?" "He's my son, Maya. He's trying." Another pause. "Okay, Mom. If you need me, I'm here." I know now that Maya saw what I couldn't see. She'd always seen Brandon more clearly than I did. But I was his mother, and mothers want to believe their children can change. Mother's Day fell on Sunday, May 14th, 2023. I woke up that morning to the smell of pancakes. Brandon was in the kitchen, actually cooking, with flour on his hands and a smile on his face. "Happy Mother's Day, Mom," he said when I came downstairs. He'd set the table beautifully. There were flowers, fresh roses in a crystal vase. There was orange juice in my favorite glass. There were pancakes stacked high with butter and syrup on the side, just the way I liked them. Maya and David came over around noon with little Emma. We had lunch together in the dining room, the big oak table that James and I had bought at an estate sale in 1989. Emma sat in her high chair, smashing blueberries with her tiny fists and giggling. It felt for a moment like we were a family again. After lunch, Brandon stood up. He was holding a small box, velvet, dark green, the kind that holds something expensive. "Mom," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "I want to give you something." He opened the box. Inside was a watch. It was beautiful, a Cartier Tank Française, gold with a white face and Roman numerals. I recognized it immediately. It had belonged to my mother, Evelyn Marie Johnson, who died in 2001. She'd bought it for herself in 1975 with her first real paycheck after working for 20 years as a seamstress. It was the only luxury she'd ever owned. When she died, I'd given the watch to Brandon. He'd been 13 years old at the time, and he'd loved his grandmother fiercely. I thought he should have something of hers. And now, 22 years later, he was giving it back. "Brandon," I whispered, tears filling my eyes, "this is your grandmother's watch." "I know," he said, "and I want you to have it. I want you to wear it every day and remember that you're loved, that you're not alone, that we're here for you." He took the watch out of the box and fastened it around my wrist himself. His hands were steady. His eyes were sincere. "Promise me something, Mom," he said quietly. "What's that, sweetheart?" "Promise me you'll wear this every single day. Never take it off. Not for showers, not for bed, not for anything. I want you to feel Grandma's love with you always." I looked at the watch on my wrist. The gold gleamed in the afternoon sunlight streaming through the window. It was heavy, substantial, real. "I promise," I said. Maya was watching from across the table. I caught her eye and something passed between us. Something I couldn't name. Concern, maybe. Or suspicion. But I pushed it away. This was a beautiful moment. My son was giving me a piece of our family history. My son was showing me he cared. I hugged him tight. "Thank you, Brandon. This means everything to me." He hugged me back. "I love you, Mom." "I love you too, baby." That night, after Maya and David left, after the dishes were washed and put away, after Emma's laughter had faded into memory, I sat alone in my bedroom and looked at the watch on my wrist. It was 9:47 p.m. The second hand swept smoothly around the face. Tick, tick, tick. I thought about my mother, about how hard she'd worked, about how proud she'd been of this watch, about how she'd told me, "Sophia, a woman who can buy her own jewelry is a woman who answers to no one." I fell asleep with the watch still on my wrist, feeling for the first time since James died, like maybe everything was going to be okay. I was wrong. I woke up at 5:43 a.m. on Monday, May 15th, with nausea wrapped around my throat like a fist. I stumbled out of bed and made it to the bathroom just in time. I gripped the edge of the sink and waited for the feeling to pass. It didn't. For 23 minutes I stood there, breathing slowly, trying to calm my stomach. The nausea wasn't sharp. It wasn't like food poisoning or the flu. It was deeper than that, more persistent, like something inside me had shifted slightly out of place. When it finally subsided, I splashed cold water on my face and looked at myself in the mirror. I looked tired. I looked older than 67. The skin under my eyes was puffy. My cheeks looked hollow. I told myself it was stress, grief, the body's way of processing loss. I went downstairs and made coffee, my usual routine. French roast, black, 1 sugar. I sat at the kitchen table and tried to drink it. My stomach turned. I managed 3 sips before I had to pour the rest down the sink. Brandon came downstairs around 7 a.m., already dressed for the day. "Morning, Mom," he said brightly. "How'd you sleep?" "Fine," I lied. His eyes went immediately to my wrist, to the watch. He smiled. "You're wearing it." "Of course I am. I promised." Something flickered across his face. Relief, maybe, or satisfaction. "You feeling okay?" he asked. "You look a little pale." "Just tired," I said. "I didn't sleep well." "You should rest today," he said. "Take it easy. I'll make you breakfast." He moved around the kitchen with purpose, pulling out eggs and bread, heating up the pan. He made me scrambled eggs with toast, simple, plain, the way I'd made for him 1,000 times when he was a child. I ate half of it before my stomach rebelled again. "I think I need to lie down," I said. Brandon's face creased with concern. "Of course, Mom. Go rest. I'll clean up." I went back upstairs and lay down on top of the covers. The watch felt heavy on my wrist, heavier than it should have. I closed my eyes and told myself I'd feel better tomorrow. I didn't. By Friday, May 19th, I'd lost 4 pounds. I know this because I weighed myself every morning, a habit I'd developed in my 50s when my doctor warned me about diabetes. I kept a small notebook in the bathroom drawer where I wrote down the number each day. Monday, May 15th, 158 pounds. Tuesday, May 16th, 157 pounds. Wednesday, May 17th, 156 pounds. Thursday, May 18th, 155 pounds. Friday, May 19th, 154 pounds, 4 pounds in 5 days. The nausea was still there every morning. It would hit around 5:30 a.m., pull me out of sleep, and keep me in the bathroom for 20 to 30 minutes. Then it would fade, leaving me weak and shaky. I couldn't keep breakfast down. Lunch was difficult. Dinner was the only meal I could manage, and even then, only small portions. Brandon noticed. "Mom, you're not eating enough," he said one evening, watching me push food around my plate. "I'm just not hungry." "You need to eat. You're losing weight." "I'll be fine, sweetheart. It's probably just stress. My body adjusting to everything." He nodded slowly. "Maybe you should see a doctor." "Maybe," I said. But I didn't make an appointment. Not yet. I told myself it would pass. Bodies do strange things when you're grieving. Everyone knows that. On Saturday, May 20th, Maya came over for our usual weekly visit. She brought Emma, who was wearing a pink dress with white flowers on it. Emma ran to me with her arms out, and I scooped her up, kissing her soft cheeks. But even holding my grandbaby felt difficult. My arms were weaker than they should have been. Maya noticed immediately. "Mom," she said, her voice sharp with concern. "Have you lost weight?" "A little," I admitted. "I haven't had much of an appetite." "How much is a little?" 4 pounds, maybe 5. Her eyes narrowed. "In 1 week?" "It's fine, Maya. I'm fine." She looked at Brandon, who was standing in the doorway to the kitchen. "Is she eating?" "I'm trying to get her to," Brandon said, "but she won't listen to me." Maya turned back to me. "Mom, you need to see a doctor." "I will. I just need a little more time." "Time for what? To get worse?" I forced a smile. "Maya, honey, I appreciate your concern, but I'm 67 years old. I know my own body." She didn't look convinced, but she dropped it. We spent the afternoon playing with Emma, reading her books, watching her toddle around the living room. But I could feel Maya watching me, studying me, counting the bites of food I took at dinner. When she left that evening, she hugged me longer than usual. "Please take care of yourself, Mom," she whispered in my ear. "I will, baby. I promise." That night I looked at the watch on my wrist. It was 8:32 p.m. The gold caught the light from my bedside lamp. I thought about taking it off, just for the night, just to see if it made a difference. But I'd promised Brandon. And Brandon had been so good to me lately. So attentive, so caring. I left it on. By the end of week 1, I'd lost 6 pounds total, and I still didn't know I was being poisoned. Monday, May 22nd, started the same way every morning had started since Mother's Day, with nausea. I woke at 5:47 a.m., stumbled to the bathroom, and gripped the sink while my stomach tried to turn itself inside out. 26 minutes. I timed it on the watch. 26 minutes of standing there, breathing through my nose, willing my body to cooperate. When I finally made it downstairs at 6:43 a.m., Brandon was already in the kitchen. This had become our new routine. Brandon, who used to sleep until noon, was now up before dawn. Brandon, who used to leave dishes in the sink for days, was now making me breakfast every single morning. "Morning, Mom," he said, turning from the coffee maker with a smile. "I made your coffee just the way you like it." He handed me a mug, my favorite one, the blue one with "World's Best Mom," printed on the side that Maya had given me for Mother's Day in 2003. The coffee was black with 1 sugar, exactly right. "Thank you, sweetheart," I said, taking the mug. I didn't notice the way his eyes followed me as I lifted it to my lips. I didn't notice the way he watched as I took the first sip. I didn't notice the slight tension in his shoulders until I swallowed. But I notice now. Looking back, I see everything I missed. The coffee tasted normal, bitter, hot, familiar. I drank half of it before my stomach started to rebel again. "I'm sorry," I said, setting the mug down. "I can't finish it. My stomach—" "It's okay, Mom," Brandon said quickly. "Don't force it. You want some toast instead?" "Maybe just dry toast." He made it for me, and I ate 3 small bites before giving up. My weight that morning, 152 pounds. 8 pounds lost in 8 days. On Tuesday, May 23rd, I finally went to see my doctor. Dr. Patricia Anderson had been my physician for 14 years. She was 53 years old, black like me, and she'd grown up in Harlem too. She understood what it meant to be a black woman in America, to be dismissed, to be told your pain isn't real, to have to fight to be heard. "Sophia," she said when she saw me, her face creasing with concern. "What's going on? You've lost weight." 10 pounds, I said, in 9 days. Her eyebrows rose. 10 pounds? That's significant. Tell me about your symptoms. I told her everything. The nausea every morning, the inability to keep food down, the weakness, the exhaustion that had settled into my bones like fog. She listened carefully, taking notes. Then she examined me, blood pressure, heart rate, checked my abdomen, looked in my eyes and throat. "I'm going to run a full panel of blood tests," she said. "I want to check your thyroid, your liver function, your kidney function, blood sugar, vitamin levels, everything." "What do you think it is?" I asked. She hesitated. "Honestly, Sophia, it could be a lot of things. Stress can manifest physically, especially after loss. But 10 pounds in 9 days is more than I'd expect from stress alone. Let's get the tests done and see what we find. They took 5 vials of blood. I watched the dark red liquid fill each tube and thought about how strange it was that so much of our health could be red in our blood. The lab will rush these, Dr. Anderson said. I should have results by Friday. In the meantime, try to eat small meals throughout the day. Crackers, soup, things that are gentle on your stomach. And Sophia? Yes? If you get worse, if you start vomiting blood, if you have severe abdominal pain, if you feel faint, you go straight to the emergency room. Don't wait. Understood? Understood. I left the office with a requisition form and a growing sense of unease. That evening, Brandon made me soup, chicken noodle from a can, heated up and served with saltine crackers. How was the doctor? He asked. She's running tests. We'll know more Friday. He nodded. I'm sure it's nothing serious. Probably just your body adjusting to retirement, to Dad being gone, to everything. Probably, I agreed. I ate half the soup. My stomach held it down. Brandon smiled. See? You just need to take it easy. That night I wrote in my notebook, May 23rd, 2023. Weight, 151 pounds. Nausea, 28 minutes this morning. Food intake, 1/2 cup coffee, 3 bites toast, 1/2 bowl soup, 4 crackers. Note, doctor visit. Blood tests ordered. I was keeping a record, though I didn't know why yet. Something in me, some instinct I'd developed over 40 years of running a business, said, document everything. That instinct would save my life. Saturday, May 27th, was the day everything changed. Maya came over for our weekly visit. Emma was with David's mother for the afternoon, so it was just the 2 of us. Maya had brought lunch, sandwiches from the deli on 125th Street that I loved. I managed to eat half of mine. Mom, Maya said, watching me, you look terrible. Thank you, sweetheart. Every mother wants to hear that. I'm serious. You've lost more weight. 11 pounds now, I admitted. Her eyes widened. 11? In less than 2 weeks? Dr. Anderson is running tests. We'll know more soon. Maya set down her sandwich. Where's Brandon? He went out. Some kind of appointment, I think. He said he'd be back around 5. Good, Maya said. Because I need to talk to you about something. There was something in her voice, something sharp and urgent, that made my stomach tighten. What is it? She pulled out her phone. Last week, when I was here, I noticed something. Brandon kept looking at your wrist, at the watch. Every few minutes, his eyes would go there, like he was checking something. He's just making sure I'm wearing it, I said. He asked me to keep it on. Why? The question caught me off guard. What do you mean, why? Why does he care so much whether you're wearing a watch or not? Why does it matter to him? I didn't have an answer. Maya leaned forward. Mom, do you remember when Brandon gave you that watch? On Mother's Day? Of course. Do you remember my face? I thought back. I remembered the lunch, the flowers, Brandon opening the velvet box. And yes, I remembered Maya's expression, the tightness around her eyes, the way she'd watched Brandon instead of watching me. You looked concerned, I said slowly. I was concerned. Because, Mom, Brandon has been in debt for years. Gambling debt, credit card debt. He owes money to people I don't even want to know about. And suddenly, out of nowhere, he's Mr. Perfect Son? He moves in with you. He cooks for you. He gives you an expensive watch and makes you promise to never take it off? Maya, what are you saying? She took a breath. I'm saying something doesn't feel right. And I'm saying you started getting sick exactly 1 week after you put that watch on. The words hung in the air between us. Maya, that's crazy. You're talking about your brother. I know exactly who I'm talking about. Her voice was hard now. Mom, last month Brandon called me. He was drunk, crying, saying he owed someone named Travis $50,000. He said if he didn't pay, they'd hurt him. He begged me for money. I said no, and he got angry. He said, when Mom dies, I'll get what I deserve, and I won't need anyone. My blood went cold. He said that? Word for word. Maya, and then a month later he's suddenly Super Son, giving you expensive gifts and moving in to take care of you, while you're getting mysteriously sick? She shook her head. I'm sorry, Mom. But I don't believe in coincidences that convenient. I wanted to argue. I wanted to defend my son. But something in my gut, that same instinct that had served me in business for 40 years, was screaming that Maya was right. "What do you want me to do?" I asked quietly. "I want you to take off the watch." I looked down at my wrist. The Cartier gleamed up at me. My mother's watch. My family's history. "Brandon asked me to keep it on," I said. "I know, and I'm asking you to take it off, just for one day. See if you feel better." I touched the clasp. My fingers hesitated. "Mom," Maya said gently, "if I'm wrong, you can put it right back on tomorrow. But if I'm right..." She didn't finish the sentence. I unclasped the watch and set it on the table between us. My wrist felt light, naked, strange. "There," I said. "Happy?" "Let's see how you feel tomorrow," Maya said. Sunday, May 28th, I woke up at 6:12 a.m. No nausea. I lay in bed for a full minute, waiting for it to hit, for that familiar twisting in my stomach, for the urgent need to run to the bathroom. It didn't come. I sat up slowly. My stomach felt normal, settled, quiet. I went downstairs and found Brandon in the kitchen again, already making coffee. "Morning, Mom," he said. Then his eyes went to my wrist, to my bare wrist, and his smile faltered. "Where's the watch?" "I took it off," I said carefully, "to clean it." "Oh," he recovered quickly. "That's good. It should be cleaned regularly. Here, I made your coffee." He handed me the blue mug. I took it from him and lifted it to my lips. But something made me pause. Some instinct. Some tiny alarm bell ringing in the back of my mind. I lowered the mug without drinking. "Actually, I think I'll have tea this morning instead. My stomach's been so sensitive." Brandon's face tightened almost imperceptibly. "Oh, sure, of course." He turned away, but not before I saw something flash across his expression. Disappointment. Or was it frustration? I made myself tea and sat at the kitchen table. Brandon poured the coffee I hadn't drunk down the sink, quickly, efficiently, like he wanted it gone. We sat in silence for a few minutes. Then Brandon said, "You feeling any better today?" "Actually, yes," I said. "I feel pretty good this morning." "That's great, Mom." But his voice was flat. After breakfast, which I ate fully for the first time in 2 weeks, I went upstairs and called Maya. "How do you feel?" she asked immediately. "Better," I admitted. "No nausea this morning." She was quiet for a moment. "Mom, I need to tell you something else. I didn't want to yesterday because I thought maybe I was being paranoid. But now..." "What is it?" "Last week, when Brandon was out, I went into his room. I was looking for Emma's stuffed bear. We'd left it here the week before. And I found something." My heart started beating faster. "What did you find?" "A box, under his bed, hidden beneath some clothes. It had a skull and crossbones on it." "What kind of box?" "Rat poison, Mom. A box of rat poison. And it was half empty." The room tilted. I sat down on the edge of my bed. "Are you sure?" I whispered. "I took a picture." I heard her phone clicking. "I'm sending it to you now." My phone buzzed. I opened the image. There it was, a red and white box with bold letters, Decon rat poison. And beneath that, a skull and crossbones. The box was open, half of the contents gone. "Maya," I said, my voice shaking, "what are you saying?" "I'm saying Brandon has been putting something in your food or your coffee. I'm saying that watch might not be the only thing making you sick. I'm saying we need to go to the police. We don't have proof. We have rat poison hidden in his room. We have you getting sick right after he moved in. We have him making your food and coffee every single day. We have him in debt and talking about what he'll get when you die. Mom, what more proof do you need?" She was right. I knew she was right. But he was my son, my baby boy, the child I'd carried for 9 months and raised for 36 years. "Let me talk to him first," I said. "Mom, no. Maya, I need to hear it from him. I need to give him a chance to explain." She was quiet for a long moment. "Okay, but I'm coming over, right now. And if anything happens, anything, I'm calling the police immediately." "Okay," I said. "And Mom, don't eat or drink anything he gives you. Nothing. Promise me." "I promise." Maya arrived at 2:37 p.m. Brandon was in the living room, watching television. He looked up when Maya walked in, and something passed between them, something cold and hostile. "Maya," he said, "I didn't know you were coming today." "I wanted to check on Mom." "She's fine. Better, actually. Right, Mom?" "Much better," I said. My voice sounded strange to my own ears. Maya sat down next to me on the couch. Brandon stayed in his chair across from us. We sat in silence for a moment. Then Maya said, "Brandon, I need to ask you something." "What's that?" "Why did you want Mom to wear the watch all the time? Why was it so important to you?" His expression didn't change. "Because it was Grandma's. Because it means something." "Why are you asking me this?" "Because Mom got sick right after she put it on, and she felt better this morning after she took it off." Brandon's eyes narrowed. "That's a coincidence." "Is it?" Maya leaned forward. "Is the rat poison in your room a coincidence too?" The air in the room changed. Brandon's face went very still. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do. The box under your bed. Half empty." "You went through my things?" His voice was rising now. "You went through my personal belongings?" "I found rat poison in your room, Brandon. In our mother's house. While she's mysteriously losing weight and can't keep food down." Brandon stood up. "You're crazy. You're both crazy." "Then explain it," I said quietly. "Explain why you have rat poison." He looked at me, and for a moment I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Calculation. He was deciding something. Deciding how much to tell, how much to deny, how much he could get away with. "There are mice in the basement," he said finally. "I bought it to take care of them. For you, Mom, so you wouldn't have to deal with it." "There are no mice in the basement," Maya said. "How would you know? You're never here." "I was here last week, the week before. There's no evidence of mice. No droppings, no sounds, nothing." Brandon's jaw tightened. "Well, I saw one, so I bought poison. That's not a crime." "But you didn't put any traps out," I said. "You didn't tell me about the mice. You just bought poison and kept it hidden in your room." "I didn't want to worry you." "Stop lying." Maya's voice cracked like a whip. "Just stop, Brandon. We know." "Know what?" But his voice was different now. Harder. Defensive. "We know about the debt. We know you owe Travis $50,000. We know you said you'd get what you deserve when Mom dies." Brandon's face went pale, then red, then very, very calm. "So that's what this is about," he said quietly. "You think I'm trying to kill Mom for her money." "Are you?" Maya asked. He laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. "You don't understand anything, either of you." "Then explain it to us," I said. My voice was steady, but my hands were shaking. "Explain why you moved in right after your father died. Explain why you give me coffee every morning. Oh, explain why you wanted me to wear that watch every day. Explain the poison, Brandon. Make me understand." He stared at me for a long moment. Then he said, "You really want to know?" "Yes." "Fine." He sat back down, and when he spoke again, his voice was cold. "I owe people money. A lot of money. More than 50,000, try 200,000. And these aren't the kind of people who accept payment plans. They want their money, or they want something else. Something painful." "So you decided to poison your own mother?" Maya's voice was shaking with rage. "I didn't decide anything," Brandon shouted. "I needed a solution. And you," he pointed at me, "you have $47 million sitting in properties and investments while I'm drowning, while I'm about to have my legs broken by loan sharks. You have everything, and I have nothing." "I offered to help you," I said quietly. "Every time you asked, 5,000 here, 10,000 there, that's nothing. I needed real money. I needed enough to start over. And you were never going to give me that. You were never going to give me what I deserved. So you decided to kill me for it." The words hung in the air. Brandon didn't deny it. "You're 67 years old," he said instead. "You've lived a full life. You have more money than you could spend in 3 lifetimes. I'm 36. I'm in debt. I'm desperate. And when you died, naturally, peacefully in your sleep, I would have inherited everything. Half of everything, at least. That's $23 million. That's enough to fix everything." "But I wasn't dying fast enough, was I?" Maya said. "So you added the coffee." Brandon's silence was answer enough. I felt something break inside my chest. Not my heart, something deeper than that. Some fundamental belief in the goodness of my own child. "How long?" I whispered. "How long have you been poisoning me?" He looked at me, and for just a moment I saw regret flash across his face. "The watch? That was supposed to be slow, gradual, undetectable. Thallium in a controlled release mechanism. You'd get sick over months, waste away, and no one would question it. An old woman grieving her husband, losing weight, fading. It happens." "But," I prompted. "But it was taking too long. The watch was working, but not fast enough. I needed you gone in weeks, not months. So I added the rat poison to your coffee, just a little bit each morning, enough to speed things up." "Oh my God," Maya whispered. I stood up. My legs felt weak, but I stood. "Get out," I said. "Mom, get out of my house, now." "You don't understand. I understand perfectly. You tried to murder me, your own mother, for money." My voice was rising now, powered by rage and grief and betrayal so profound I could barely breathe. "Get out before I call the police myself." Brandon stood. "You're not going to call the police." "Yes, she is," Maya said, pulling out her phone. "No." Brandon's voice was hard now. "Because if you do, I'll tell them you knew. I'll tell them you helped me plan it. I'll tell them whatever I need to tell them to bring you down with me." "No one will believe you," Maya said. "Won't they?" Brandon smiled, a cold, calculating smile. "The daughter who stands to inherit $23 million when her mother dies? The daughter who discovered the poison conveniently after Mom started getting better? You think the police won't look at you too?" "You're lying," Maya said, but I could hear the fear in her voice. Brandon walked toward the door. "I'm leaving, but Mom, you should think very carefully about what you do next, because if you go to the police, this gets ugly for everyone, including you, Maya." He left. The door closed behind him. Maya and I stood in the silent house, and I felt my world crumbling around me. My son had tried to kill me, and he'd almost succeeded. After Brandon left, Maya and I sat in silence for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes. Then Maya called the police. 911, what's your emergency?" "My brother has been poisoning my mother. We have evidence. We need someone to come now." She gave them the address, 847 West 127th Street, Harlem, New York, and they said officers were on the way. While we waited, I went upstairs and retrieved the watch from my dresser where I'd left it the night before. I held it carefully, not putting it on, just examining it. It was heavier than I remembered, heavier than it should be. Maya came up behind me. "Don't touch it more than you have to. It's evidence now." I set it down on the dresser and looked at my daughter. "How did you know? How did you figure it out?" She sat on the edge of my bed. "I didn't, not at first. But Mom, I've watched you my whole life. You're the smartest, strongest woman I know. You don't just get mysteriously sick. And Brandon," she paused. "Brandon has always been selfish, even when we were kids. Everything was always about him, his needs, his wants, his problems. I couldn't believe he'd changed so suddenly after Dad died. People don't change like that." "I wanted to believe he had," I said softly. "I know. You're his mother. You're supposed to believe in him." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "But I'm his sister, and I've seen who he really is." The police arrived at 3:42 p.m. 2 officers, 1 male and 1 female. Officer Rodriguez and Officer Thompson. They were professional, thorough, and kind. They took our statements separately. I told them everything, about Brandon moving in after James died, about the watch, about getting sick, about the coffee ritual, about the rat poison Maya found. "Do you still have the watch?" Officer Rodriguez asked. "Upstairs. I haven't touched it since yesterday." "We'll need to take it as evidence. We'll also need to search Mr. Harrison's room." "He's not here," I said. "He left about an hour ago." "Do you know where he went?" "No." They searched Brandon's room anyway. They found the box of rat poison exactly where Maya said it would be, under his bed, beneath a pile of dirty clothes. They also found his laptop. "We'll need to take this too," Officer Thompson said. "There might be searches, communications, evidence of planning." "Take whatever you need," I said. They called for a detective. Detective Patricia Williams arrived at 5:17 p.m. She was a black woman in her early 50s with gray-streaked hair pulled back in a tight bun and eyes that had seen everything. When she shook my hand, her grip was firm and warm. "Mrs. Harrison," she said, "I understand this is your son we're talking about." "Yes." "That must be very difficult." "It is." She sat down across from me at my dining room table, the same table where we'd had Mother's Day lunch, where Brandon had given me the watch. "Tell me everything," she said. "From the beginning." So I did. I told her about James dying, about Brandon moving in, about the watch and the promise to never take it off. I told her about the nausea, the weight loss, the doctors finding nothing. I told her about Maya's suspicions, about taking off the watch and feeling better, about the rat poison. I told her about Brandon's confession, about the debt, about the thallium, about wanting me dead so he could inherit. Detective Williams took notes in a small leather notebook, her pen moving steadily across the page. When I finished, she said, "Mrs. Harrison, I need to be honest with you. This is going to be a complicated case." "Why?" "Because your son is smart. He's already set up his defense, claiming you and your daughter are framing him, that he'll implicate Maya in the plot. It's a classic Darvo strategy." "Darvo?" "Deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. He denies wrongdoing, attacks his accusers, and reverses the roles so he becomes the victim." She set down her pen. "But we have some things in our favor. We have the watch. If there's a mechanism inside it, if there's thallium, that's hard evidence. We have the rat poison in his room. And most importantly, we have your blood." "My blood?" "You saw Dr. Anderson last week, correct? She ran a full panel?" "Yes. The results should be back by now. I'm going to get a warrant for those medical records. If your blood shows elevated levels of thallium or arsenic or any other poison, that's our smoking gun. That proves you were poisoned. Combined with the watch, the rat poison, and his confession to both of you, we have a strong case." "What happens now?" Maya asked. "Now we find Brandon. We bring him in for questioning, and we build our case." Detective Williams stood. "In the meantime, I need you both to be very careful. Brandon knows you're going to the police. He may try to contact you, to threaten you, to convince you not to press charges. Do not engage with him. Do not answer his calls. If he shows up here, you call 911 immediately. Understood?" We both nodded. "Mrs. Harrison," Detective Williams said gently, "I know this is your son. I know this is painful. But what he did, what he tried to do, is attempted murder, with premeditation. If we can prove it, he's looking at 25 to 30 years in prison." The number hit me like a physical blow. 25 to 30 years. Brandon would be in his 60s when he got out. His whole life gone. But then I thought about what he'd tried to do to me, how he'd watched me get sicker and weaker, how he'd brought me coffee every morning knowing it was poison, how he'd smiled at me and called me Mom while slowly killing me. "I understand," I said. After the police left, Maya stayed with me. She called David and asked him to bring Emma over. "I don't want Mom alone tonight," she told him. They arrived at 7:23 p.m. Little Emma ran to me, and I picked her up despite my weakness, holding her close and breathing in her baby powder smell. "Grandma," she said, patting my face with her small hands. "Up." "I've got you, baby," I whispered. That night we ordered Chinese food, something I could finally eat without my stomach rebelling. I ate an entire container of wonton soup and half a container of lo mein. Maya watched me eat with relief in her eyes. "You're getting your appetite back." "I feel more like myself already," I said. And it was true. After just one day without the watch, without the poisoned coffee, my body was already starting to recover. We put Emma to bed in the guest room at 8:30 p.m. Then Maya, David, and I sat in the living room, and I asked the question I'd been avoiding. "What happens to our family now?" Maya took my hand. "We survive, Mom. We survive and we heal." "But Brandon made his choice," David said quietly. "He was a kind man, an accountant, steady and rational. He chose money over family. He chose murder over asking for help. Those were his decisions, not yours." "But I'm his mother. I should have seen—" "Stop," Maya said firmly. "This is not your fault. You didn't make him do this. You didn't fail him. He failed you. He failed himself." I wanted to believe her, but that night, lying in bed, I couldn't stop thinking about Brandon as a baby. About his first steps, his first words, about the little boy who used to crawl into bed with James and me during thunderstorms, about the teenager who'd cried when his grandmother died. Where had I lost him? When had he become someone who could do this? I didn't sleep well. Monday, May 29th, Memorial Day. Detective Williams called at 9:47 a.m. "Mrs. Harrison, we have the results from the watch." My heart started pounding. "And?" "We took it to a forensic jeweler, someone who specializes in modified jewelry. He found a hidden compartment inside. Very sophisticated, professionally done. There's a small glass vial containing a clear liquid, and there's a mechanism with micro-perforations that allows the liquid to slowly seep out through contact with skin." I felt dizzy. "What's in the vial?" "We sent it to the lab. Initial tests show thallium sulfate, a highly toxic heavy metal. Odorless, tasteless, and in small doses over time, it causes exactly the symptoms you experienced: nausea, weight loss, hair loss, organ damage." Oh God. "Mrs. Harrison, this is premeditated attempted murder. Someone had to research thallium, acquire it, which isn't easy, and then pay someone with expertise to modify the watch. This took planning, time, and money." "How much time?" "The jeweler estimates the modification was done within the last 6 months, probably right after your husband died. So Brandon had been planning this for months. While I was grieving James, while I was crying at his funeral, Brandon was already plotting my death." "There's more," Detective Williams continued. "We got your medical records from Dr. Anderson. Your blood shows thallium levels 48 times higher than normal. You also have elevated arsenic levels, which is consistent with rat poison ingestion. Mrs. Harrison, if you'd continued wearing that watch, if you'd continued drinking that coffee, you would have been dead within 3 to 4 weeks. The room spun. 3 to 4 weeks. I'd been that close. "We also examined Mr. Harrison's laptop," she continued. "His search history shows multiple searches for thallium poisoning symptoms, undetectable poisons, life insurance payout times, and inheritance laws, New York State. He also has emails with someone named Travis Patterson discussing money he owes and taking care of the problem." "What does that mean?" "We're bringing in Mr. Patterson for questioning. But Mrs. Harrison, we have enough to arrest your son. We issued a warrant this morning. We just need to find him." "Where is he?" "We don't know yet. He's not at any of his known addresses, but we will find him." After I hung up, I sat very still for a long time. Then I went to my home office, the small room on the second floor where I'd managed my properties for 40 years, and I pulled out a file. My will. I opened it and read through the pages I'd signed just 2 years ago, in 2021, back when James was alive, and Brandon seemed like a son I could be proud of. The will split everything evenly between Brandon and Maya, 50% each. The properties, the investments, the bank accounts, everything divided equally. Brandon would have gotten $23.6 million. I picked up the phone and called my lawyer, Robert Chen. "Sophia," he said warmly, "how are you? I heard about what happened. The police contacted me for your records. Robert, I need to change my will. Immediately." "Of course. What changes do you want to make?" "I want to remove Brandon completely. Everything goes to Maya." There was a pause. "Sophia, are you sure? I know what he did was terrible, but he's still your son. He tried to kill me, Robert. He poisoned me for months. He watched me waste away, and he smiled while he did it. I'm sure." "All right, I'll draft the new will today. You can come in to sign it tomorrow." "Thank you." I hung up and sat in my office, looking at the framed photos on my desk. There was one of Brandon at his college graduation, smiling in his cap and gown. There was one of Maya and David's wedding. There was one of Emma on her first birthday, cake smashed all over her face. I took down Brandon's photo and put it in a drawer. Then I cried. Brandon was arrested on Tuesday, May 30th at 2:14 p.m. They found him at Travis Patterson's apartment in Queens. When the police knocked on the door, Travis answered, saw the badges, and immediately said, "He's in the back bedroom." Brandon didn't run. He didn't resist. He just stood up, put his hands out for the handcuffs, and said, "I want a lawyer." Detective Williams called me at 3:30 p.m. to tell me he was in custody. "How did he seem?" I asked. "Calm. Almost relieved, actually, like he'd been waiting for this." "What happens now?" "He'll be arraigned tomorrow morning. The DA is charging him with attempted murder in the first degree, assault with a deadly weapon, and elder abuse. If convicted on all counts, he's looking at 30 years minimum. Will I have to testify? Eventually, yes, but not at the arraignment. That's just where he pleads guilty or not guilty and bail is set. Will he get bail? I doubt it. Not for attempted murder of a family member. The DA will argue he's a flight risk and a danger. The judge will likely remand him. Remand. That meant Brandon would stay in jail until trial. My son, in jail. Mrs. Harrison, are you all right? No, I said honestly. But I will be. Wednesday, May 31st, I went to the courthouse. Maya begged me not to go. Mom, you don't need to see this. You don't need to see him. Yes, I do, I said. I need to look him in the eye. The arraignment was in a crowded courtroom that smelled like floor polish and anxiety. Detective Williams sat with us. The DA, a sharp-eyed woman named Jennifer Morrison, introduced herself briefly before the proceedings began. At 10:47 a.m., they brought Brandon in. He was wearing an orange jumpsuit. His hands were cuffed in front of him. His hair was messy and he had dark circles under his eyes. He looked at me. I looked back. Neither of us looked away. The judge, a black woman in her 60s named Judge Helen Carter, read the charges. Brandon James Harrison, you are charged with attempted murder in the first degree, assault with a deadly weapon, and elder abuse. How do you plead? Brandon's lawyer, a public defender who looked about 12 years old, said, Not guilty, Your Honor. The DA stood. Your Honor, the people request remand. Mr. Harrison attempted to murder his own mother through systematic poisoning over a period of several weeks. He is a clear danger to the victim and a flight risk. He has significant debt and motive to flee. The defense attorney argued weakly for bail, but Judge Carter wasn't having it. Mr. Harrison, you are accused of trying to kill your mother for inheritance money. Bail is denied. You will remain in custody until trial. The gavel came down. Brandon was led away. At the door, he turned back and looked at me one more time. I thought he might mouth, I'm sorry, or I love you, or something. But he didn't. He just turned away. 6 months later, November 15th, 2023, I was sitting on my front porch at 8:17 a.m. with a cup of coffee, real coffee, made by my own hands, safe to drink, watching the sun rise over Harlem. I'd gained back the weight I'd lost. My hair had grown back. My skin had color again. I was healthy. More than that, I was free. Brandon's trial had happened in September. It lasted 6 days. The evidence was overwhelming. The watch with its hidden compartment, the thallium in my blood, the rat poison in his room, his laptop searches, his confession to Maya and me. His defense was that we'd framed him, that Maya had planted the evidence because she wanted my money for herself. The jury deliberated for 90 minutes. Guilty on all counts. Judge Carter sentenced him to 30 years in prison with no possibility of parole for 15 years. Brandon would be 66 years old when he was eligible for parole, older than I was now. I'd gone to the sentencing. I'd looked at him when the judge read the verdict. He'd looked back at me with empty eyes. Afterward, the press had swarmed me. Mrs. Harrison, how do you feel? Do you forgive your son? Will you visit him in prison? I'd said nothing, just walked away with Maya and David and little Emma. Now, sitting on my porch 6 months after he'd first given me the watch, I felt peaceful, not happy. Happiness seemed too simple for what I felt, but peaceful, settled. Maya came out onto the porch with Emma, who was now almost 3. Morning, Mom, Maya said, kissing my cheek. Morning, baby. Emma climbed into my lap. Grandma, story? What story do you want to hear? Princess. I told her a story about a princess who saved herself, who didn't need a prince, who was smart and strong and brave. While I talked, I looked at my wrist. Bare now, always bare. I'd never worn a watch since that day. I didn't need one. Time moved the way it moved, and I moved with it. Maya had asked me once if I regretted pressing charges, if I wished I'd given Brandon another chance. I'd thought about it carefully before answering. No, I'd said, because giving him another chance would have meant risking my life again. And my life, my time with you, with Emma, with everyone I love, is too precious for that. Do you forgive him? She'd asked. I don't know yet, I'd said honestly. Maybe someday, but forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting what he did. It doesn't mean letting him back into my life. It just means letting go of the anger so it doesn't poison me the way he tried to. Now, with Emma in my lap and the sun warm on my face, I thought about Brandon in his cell. I thought about him waking up this morning in a place with no sun, no freedom, no family. I felt sad for him, for the choices he'd made, for the life he'd thrown away. But I didn't feel guilty. He'd made his choice. He'd chosen money over love. He'd chosen murder over asking for help. He'd chosen to see me as an obstacle instead of as his mother. Those were his choices, not mine. "Grandma?" Emma said, pulling on my sleeve. "You okay?" "Yes, baby," I said, hugging her tight. "I'm more than okay." And I was. My name is Sophia Marie Harrison. I'm 67 years old, and I survived my own son trying to kill me. But that's not the end of my story. It's just the middle. Here's what I learned. I learned that family isn't always blood. Maya chose me. Victor Thompson, the stranger on the subway who I never mentioned in this story, but who saved my life by noticing my watch was too heavy. He chose me too. Detective Williams, Dr. Anderson, even Judge Carter. They all chose to protect me when my own son chose to destroy me. I learned that being underestimated is sometimes a gift. Brandon thought I was just an old woman, weak, vulnerable, easy to kill. He forgot that I'd built an empire from nothing. He forgot that I'd survived every attempt to dismiss me, diminish me, destroy me for 67 years. His mistake. I learned that documentation saves lives. If I hadn't kept that notebook, if Maya hadn't taken that photo, if Dr. Anderson hadn't ordered those tests, Brandon might have succeeded. I learned that justice is quiet. The moment of victory wasn't the guilty verdict or the sentencing. It was that first morning without nausea. That was when I won. Most importantly, I learned that you can love someone and still hold them accountable. I love Brandon. He's my son. But he tried to kill me, and he's in prison because of it. Both things are true. I've started a foundation, the Evelyn Johnson Harrison Foundation for Elder Abuse Prevention, named after my mother and my husband. We help older adults recognize the signs of financial and physical abuse. We provide free legal services. We educate families. Because what happened to me isn't rare. It happens every day. Sons and daughters and caregivers who see older people as obstacles to inheritance rather than human beings worthy of love. Maya runs the foundation with me. Emma comes to the office sometimes, sitting at a little desk we set up for her, working on coloring books while we work on changing laws. This morning, as I finish my coffee and watch Emma play, my phone rings. It's a blocked number. I answer it. "You have a collect call from an inmate at Rikers Island Correctional Facility. Will you accept the charges?" My heart stops. Brandon. It's been 6 months since the sentencing. He hasn't tried to contact me once. Until now. "Will you accept?" the automated voice repeats. Maya is watching me from the doorway. She shakes her head slightly. Don't do it. But I press one. "Hello?" I say. "Mom?" His voice is rough, like he's been crying. "Brandon." A long silence, then, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know it's not enough. I know sorry doesn't fix what I did. But I need you to know. I'm sorry." I close my eyes. "Why are you calling me now?" "Because I've been sitting in here for 6 months thinking about what I did. About the watch, about the coffee. About watching you get sicker and not stopping. And Mom, I don't know who I became. I don't recognize myself." "Neither do I say quietly. I was angry at you for being successful, at Dad for dying and leaving me alone, at myself for failing at everything. And I let that anger turn into something terrible. You let it turn into attempted murder." "Yes." His voice breaks. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it. I needed you to know I'm sorry, and that I'm going to spend every day for the rest of my life trying to become someone who deserves to be your son." Tears are running down my face. "Brandon, I don't know if we'll ever have a relationship again. I don't know if I can ever trust you again. I know, but I don't hate you. And I genuinely hope that you become that person, the person you're trying to be." "Thank you," he whispers. We sit in silence for a moment. Then the automated voice says, "You have 60 seconds remaining." "I have to go," I say. "Okay, Mom." "Yes." "I love you. I know I didn't show it. I know I did the opposite, but I love you." My throat is tight. "I love you too, Brandon. That's why this hurts so much." The line goes dead. I sit there holding the phone, crying. Maya comes and puts her arm around me. "You okay?" "No," I say. "But I will be. Because that's the thing about survival. You don't just survive the poison. You survive the grief that comes after. You survive the complicated love you still feel for the person who tried to kill you. You survive all of it. And on the other side, you find something worth having. Peace. I look at Emma, playing with her dolls on the porch. I look at Maya, strong and protective beside me. I look at my bare wrist, free of the watch that almost killed me. And I think, I'm 67 years old. I've survived poverty, racism, sexism, widowhood, and my own son's attempt to murder me. I'm still here, and I'm not done yet, not even close.